Bomba data, 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 bomba data,
Right-o.
Hey.
Hey, happy day. Happy days. Happy days.
Hey, Potsy. Hey, Potsy. Happy days. We're officially changing the name of the podcast to Happy Days. I'm author Arthur Fonzarelli.
You're gonna have to be Fonzie. I had more of a Potsy than Fonzie, that's for sure.
You know what? I saw a picture the other day of Fonzie and Ralph. They're grown up. You know, obviously they're growing up. They're older than we are, but they still look kind of the same. Okay. Hey, happy trails. Good morning, everybody. And let's turn on our radio voice and get ready for the Happy Trails podcast.
Who's got your money?
All right. Hey, usual thank you to the Atomic Punks. We love those guys, man. They're so awesome. They're doing a little U.S. tour right now, so if you get a chance, look them up, see if they're going to be in your area, and go check them out. It's a great show. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll probably be in Cedar Rapids, but they may be a bigger city around here.
Yeah, maybe I
can pull them into Cedar Rapids. We got the amphitheater here.
Whoa.
And it's pretty cool, man. I mean, there's some, we got some good country names. Billy Currington was there, and Jake Owen, and I mean, it would be a good venue for them. It's really cool.
I like Jake Owen.
Do you?
Yeah,
I do too.
Sweet.
I
love Cedar Rapids too. I was just there.
You know how they came up with the name of the city?
No.
So this guy, Bill, had moved in with his horse and his buggy, his horse-drawn buggy, and he was talking to Steve, another guy, neighbor, and they're like, "Hey, this looks like a nice place. What should we call it?" And Bill looked over and he saw the river that runs through and some rapids. He goes, "Cedar Rapids?" And they're like, "Oh, it sounds like a great name for a town."
That just sounds like I don't know, a joke that just went wrong.
Oh, man. God. All right.
Hey, good morning. Anyway, so on today's podcast, Blaine and I thought we'd share with you just some ideas on some things that we've learned in the last couple of years as we jumped into this. So we're going to talk about the top 5 or 6 things, depending upon who talks more and whatnot. Probably Blaine. And the top 5 things that we have learned since jumping into this rabbit hole that we are calling multifamily real estate. And then we're going to take a couple questions that we got since last podcast, and we will go from there. So what do you say, Blaine? Top 5 things that you've learned in the last couple of years under the Sumrock ecosystem and diving into multifamily real estate, and things that you've learned the hard way, the easy way. What comes to mind for you?
Well, one of the first thing, and I've told many of you guys that over the years, over the last 20, 25 years, I've been involved in multifamily real estate here in Cedar Rapids. And some of it didn't go as well as I thought, or I was hoping. The values didn't increase and And so one of the big takeaways I've had is that the deal is not done after you buy it. I mean, you're like, you buy your house, deal's done, you move in and do your thing, right? And it just kind of rolls, and the mortgage rolls, and everything just keeps going. And when you buy multifamily, that's when the work starts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes a lot of work to get there, but when you sign on the document and you close on the deal and all it becomes yours, then that's when the work starts, and that's when the value gets built. I mean, you can certainly buy at a lower, a number if the price is lowered, or like nowadays over the next year or so, we're going to see some deals. They're coming faster.
They're already coming
faster every day. Yeah. I'm getting more and more
coming
through. But I think that the work starts right after you buy. And that's something I didn't understand going into this. I figured, once you buy a thing, it just kind of rolled along, and then you just wait for inflation slash, your 2 or 3% growth every year, and sell it in 10 years. And, by then you'd have 30 or 40% growth or whatever it is, just in the rents and stuff like that. So, that was my big take, is that there's a lot you can do to force the value up, in a lot of work that needs to be done to keep this thing going and get it rolling in the right direction.
That's a great point. As part of the GP team in the property that we purchased in San Antonio, learned a lot through that. And one of the things that would be my takeaway to feed off of what you said is to do your due diligence. The due diligence that's involved in purchasing a property, you really have to be able to dive deep into the numbers and see what's there. And I'll give you a great, for instance, when we took over the property in San Antonio, it showed occupancy at about, gosh, what was it at the time?
95.
I want to say
94%.
Yeah, it was like 93 or 94%. So when we finally closed on the property, it was showing 93, 94% occupied. Well, to the seller, occupied meant there was a body in the apartment. Wasn't a dead body. Although
it wasn't in a dumpster burning.
Yeah, it wasn't a dumpster, but it was, like there's been other properties like we talked about, but
Right.
there's a body occupying the apartment. That doesn't mean that body's paying. And we learned that the hard way, because the guy that sold the property, he showed on the books that they were, the occupancy was there, but people weren't paying, or they were late, or they were waiting on eviction notices, but they were still in the property because the court system has to kick them out in the state of Texas. You can't just go in and say, you're out of here, see ya. So there's a lot involved in that. And had we dove into the numbers even more than what we had, we would have seen that. And we probably could have seen what he was doing to manipulate the numbers, the seller, which, I think everybody values their property just like you would your business or your house or your car or whatever it is. It's so good, and you want to value it as high as you can. But there's things that need to be looked at on the outside and inside under the covers, so to speak, to make sure that the property is valuable. And that was something that really stuck out for me, Blaine, because I went out and toured the property, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. The value add that we can add to this complex, the position of where it is, and we can really turn this around really well. And especially because it's at 94% occupied. Well, then we realized that, 8 or 9 of the units, 10 of the units are in arrears. Well, now we got a problem.
What's that word? In arrears?
In arrears. That means late on payment, backdating.
Wow, you're sounding fancy today. Like,
I've
never heard that word.
It's my coffee.
It's because your coffee. Wait, you got to show the other side of the cup. Show the other side of the cup.
I showed last week. So I told you all about my family, and there's the boys. This is when we used to make them wear the same outfits, and we'd walk around the mall.
Those like,
by the way,
plaid pants.
That's the real Santa Claus. That's the real Santa. Just saying.
I know.
Anyway, but that's one of the things. Due diligence, big time. Like, dive into the numbers. Look at that. And Blaine, we've talked about the analyzer and things that we're going to start to present to everybody. Dive into that stuff. You've got to look past just the fact that, gosh, the apartment complex looks great. I see potential. There's value. We got a management group that has great success. Blah 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 blah. And dive in deeper.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Back to me. Or is it your turn to bring up yours, or your due diligence was yours?
I just did due diligence and fed off yours.
So another one was how the location is so key, and not only where it's located, whether it's on a main road or whether it's by a Walmart or a Lowe's, but the state, and what's going on in the state. And not to get political, but there's a lot of laws that politicians make, of course, that can affect you. You just talked about kicking people out that aren't paying rent, right? In Texas, they get about a month, I think, before the courts will force them out. In California, they can get 6 months. So you buy a place like that in California, and man, these people are just living there for free. You can't do anything about it unless you get a Bubba on the side, right? To go
Hey,
shoo them out, which probably happens in California, and it's probably legal.
yeah, probably.
But there's a lot of laws and that make the location key. And that didn't even cross my mind until I started learning about this stuff. Of course, you got to have your population growth and the job growth areas to make it, to have people there to live in there. But yeah, location is pretty key.
People that annoy you. Squatters.
Squatters.
Squatters. No, you're right, man. The location's super key. That's a good point about the state stuff. I thank you for bringing that up, Blaine. That was good. Yeah. But really, we talked about what does the curb appeal look like, but more importantly, what's the commerce like around the apartment complex? Is there growth? Is there new industry? Is there grocery stores? Is there access to drugstores? All those things play into it, and we addressed one of those issues like several podcasts back. But location's key, so that's awesome. Let's see. Another one for me would be, I talk about this. We talk about this one all the time. Knowing and trusting the partners, the general partners, the GP team. I can't tell you, even now, there's so many people that are reaching out to me saying, Matt, I've heard the podcast. I'm reading everywhere on social media and stuff that multifamily is the next thing that I got to get into. And there's so many deals. I just want to get in. And I'm thinking to myself, hold the horses here, right? Because my first question is, do you know the people that are putting on the deal? Because if you don't, then I would tread lightly, because unless you know, like, and trust the people that are taking your money and putting it into a complex to recreate passive wealth, then I would be very hesitant to give somebody my money. However, there are people out there that they just want to invest so bad to get in the game that they're willing to just throw their money at anybody. And I think that's a mistake. I think that you have to know people, the general partners that are putting this together. What's their reputation? What's their history? All those things. If you're investing with a brand new general partner team that's never done a syndication in their life, I'm probably going to tread lightly on that. If one of the three partners has success and has flipped, then that makes me feel a little bit more at ease, depending upon what the other partners are doing. So I think the GP team is crucial to this, that you have to know, like, and trust these people and know where they're coming from.
Very well said. And I think, like you said, we've talked about that a lot. It becomes more and more ingrained in my head when I listen to different podcasts and stuff like that. They all talk about it. Everybody talks about it.
Said the same thing, right? Like everybody listens to the same thing. I mean, Blaine and I, we listen to a lot of podcasts as well. Other people, we've got friends that have multifamily podcasts and they're kicking butt and they're doing great things. And, we all kind of run in the similar circles and we see each other at these meetings and stuff, which is awesome. And just everybody feeds off of each other, learning wise and growth wise. And I can't tell you how often I hear that same thing about the GP team. It's like, it's so repetitive that I think, gosh, do these people really want to hear it again? Well, you might not want to hear it again, but you're going to hear it again because it's super important. It's super important.
Right.
What else?
And to feed off of that, not only your GP team, but the other thing I've learned is how much of a relationship game this is too. Right. So, if you want to find some deals, want to find some stuff going on, apartments for sale, you have to know the brokers. I mean, I get emails and stuff from these brokers, and I've talked to a few of them, here and there, but I haven't done a lot of, first name basis type stuff. But that's what you need. You need to get relationships. Not only do you need to like and trust and the GP team, but you need to know a broker like in depth and take him out to dinner. And I mean, that kind of stuff. And because they're going to think of you when it all comes down, right? And the same goes with a finance company or a finance guy. If you know somebody who deals in getting you money, I mean that's just so key.
Who's got your money?
Right. And all the other things, attorneys, you just got to know. I mean, I'm sure your insurance guy or girl. So I keep saying guy. Shame on me. But your insurance person. I mean, again, if you know them, they're going to work for you. They're going to find you the best deal on insurance, and take more time to make sure it's right for you, as opposed to calling up somebody and going, "Hey, I got an apartment. Okay, here's the number." I mean, that's not gonna. I mean, it'll work, but it's probably not the best deal out there. So you can make these things way more successful. You can have a lot more, success if you just know the people, and that's why networking is so important.
It is,
and that's, again, they talked about it initially, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but man, it's huge, and that's why Matt and I are going to Dallas here in 2 weeks. I think last week you said it was in September, Matt. Apparently you don't know your schedule, but
how shocking is that?
Yeah, weird. In 2 weeks, we will be podcasting from Dallas, and live
together
Dallas together
for the second time
at this conference. And like I said, we're going to network with people GPs who are doing good things, who are being successful. We're going to network with brokers who are there trying to find other people that want to buy some stuff like us. And we're going to talk to finance guys and accountants. Again, we talked about accounting, how big that is benefiting your taxes. So not only do you need to know and really trust your GP team, but you really got to have relationships with everybody in the whole system to be as successful as you can.
Right. Let's see. Another addition would be the fact that we've learned about bonus depreciation. That was one of the first things when I heard Brad Sumrock mention this, talking about bonus depreciation at 100% last year, 80% this year. Next year, it'll be 60%. And the following year, 40%. And then it's off the table. I remember sitting there dumbfounded. Like, what do you mean? It's the bonus that we can depreciate 100% of this. I've never heard about that in my life. And I think the simple fact that there are rules and things in place for those that invest in growth in communities that is put on by the IRS and by the government that benefit you to invest into these properties to allow other people to live. They're going to give you a little perk, a little Benny, so to speak. That blew me away. So that was a big deal for me, is learning about bonus depreciation and how it affects multifamily. So that'd be
yeah. I know.
I can keep going. I mean,
you could.
We can keep rolling on this, like different things, because I'm in my head. There's things that are just popping up in my head as we're talking about this. But and maybe we'll do that again, just kind of sharpshoot, and I like that. But you got anything to add on that?
Well, I mean, that was crazy, because again, I've been doing this for 25 years, and no one ever said anything about any tax benefits other than what my accountant, if we show a loss on our K1,
right.
But in general, that has to be taken on your passive income. It cannot be taken on your other income. So that was like, whoa, okay, well, that would be cool to get all this these tax benefits on your passive income.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have some through the building I own, but at this point, next year I'll have a lot more, because I'm getting some returns from some of the places I invested in, which is great. So, but until you become a real estate professional status.
Yeah.
And so that was
I'm looking forward to that day, actually.
Yes. Me too.
You know, when we
I
can
think those
hang up the handpiece and just go out there and create relationships and improve quality of community and turn some investing money.
woohoo, right on.
Yeah.
I think I had another thing. Let me look, wrote it down. Oh, the other another thing that really blew me away, just is the variation in financing. Again,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just and we talked about it like 2 podcasts ago or something like that. We talked about the financing stuff, but
Yeah.
again, yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, your house at you get a loan for 300,000 on your house at 5%, and then you sign the documents, and then it disappears into the world of whatever, as long as you're making your payments.
That's it.
And there's half the time I'm like, you know, my accountant's like, I need your interest on your house. I'm like, God, who has my mortgage? I have no idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You're
it gets
you're just
sold like
paying it.
seven, it
Yeah.
gets sold like 7 times, and all the payments just automatically roll over because they're automatically taken out. I have no idea where, you know, and I'm like, did somebody else buy that? Do I have 2 of those? And you know, and maybe that's just me, but I mean, the variation, that the stuff you can do, it's crazy. Interest only, part of the term, all of the term, different rates, variable, fixed, whether it's banks, an agency, government agency,
Yep.
or private equity or something like that that's buying these things, and the terms can change so much, and you know the stuff that they require you to do. If we're going to do this, you're going to have to make it nicer, and
Yep.
we're going to watch, and we're watching you. We're watching you, man. You better be doing what you say you're going to do. Yeah, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
that just like, yeah,
Yeah. But I mean,
crazy.
the people that are watching this, that are out there, all 2 of you, those are out there. You probably come from a similar background than Blaine and I. So yeah, we bought a house. Yes, we've invested. Now Blaine's a little bit ahead of the curve because he invested in some multifamily stuff years ago. Ann and I did not. Ann and I, we've become more like commercial real estate people, where we bought property, buildings, things like that, but not for tenants that are going to live there. We bought them for businesses. So our exposure to the lending is completely different. You know,
Yeah,
just like you said, Blaine, you take out an amount. This is what you're going to pay. This is the balloon. This is the interest, blah, 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 blah. It's completely different with multifamily syndication. I think another thing to feed off of that you just said, which I think is amazing, and I never heard of this, was the fact that you could have a non-recourse loan.
yeah,
And we talked about this several podcasts back, but
it's crazy.
the fact that you could borrow and leverage money and not be held responsible if it fails for that money is insane. Because here, Ann and I are looking to do an expansion on our dental practice. $1.5 million. We don't know yet. We don't know what the estimate's going to be. Let's say it's $1.5 million. So when we sign on that note for $1.5 million, guess what? If something happens, they're coming to get the $1.5 million somewhere from us. We don't get to only pay 400,000 back. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
huge difference when it comes to multifamily and investing in that category versus investing commercially or personally. 2 totally different animals. So
Yep.
that really blew me away too. So I don't know. Those are good. Those are 5 quick hitters, dude.
Yeah, I think there were 6 or 7, but it's close.
Is that? Oh yeah. It's close to 5. Yeah.
It's close to 5.
Awesome.
But those are some major things that really kind of threw us for a loop. We had no idea about.
Yeah. Hey, so Blaine and I were talking before the podcast, and we thought it's time to kind of elevate the podcast a little bit. We talked about how we're going to start screen sharing and showing some things. What's challenging is to get the information out there for people that are watching, paying attention, who would look at it and not know what the heck it is. So what we're going to do is at the end of every month, did we decide end of month?
Yeah.
At the end of every month, on the last podcast of the month, we're going to kind of serve that podcast up to be more of a straight educational podcast where we will be sharing screens, talking specific numbers, using analyzers, looking at deals specifically. We'll pull up some deals just randomly and start to analyze those, and things where you can actually start to apply the things that we've taught up until this point. So we're going to take the time to do that. The other episodes will be very similar. We're still going to educate. We're still going to inform, but we're going to keep our normal style as we do that. It's just not going to be specifically as putting a screen up for y'all to see the numbers specifically. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
You want to show them that? So here's an example. Here's an example.
Yeah,
Go.
Yeah, I got one. Hang on. We can go to screen share. Look at the IT wizard. Oh, look at this. Hang on. Wait for it.
And
hey,
boom.
There it is.
What is that, Blaine? What is that?
This is the property analyzer. And this is we got this from Brad Sumrock because we're our personal mentor students of his. And so we'll I think in a couple of weeks, actually we'll be in Dallas. We'll go through this whole thing together. And it just, you see a bunch of numbers here. There's tabs across the bottom to go to different pages. Look at all those freaking numbers. Look at all the numbers. Oh my gosh. Some people are like totally geeky out and getting excited.
And then some of you are looking going, wow, I see some light red and blue and yellow.
I see different colors. It's like a rainbow. Ew.
And then some of you are colorblind and all you see is gray. So it sucks. Your life sucks.
You just because you're colorblind doesn't mean you just see gray.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been colorblind. I don't know.
There's a blue-green deficiency where you get where you get oranges and greens mixed up, but they call it blue-green deficiency or something weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
I don't know. Maybe we'll get my eye doctor friend Troy in here to
tell us.
We'll interview him.
That's perfect.
Maybe we ought to interview somebody in 2 weeks when we're in Dallas.
Hey, you know what? Maybe we can.
Maybe I wonder if Noel's going to be there. He'd be a great guy to have.
Yeah, Noel's going to be there. We'll throw him on the podcast. Yeah, we'll throw him on the podcast.
That would be great. Maybe we can talk to him real quick on Thursday night when we get in. That'd be something, awesome. And tell him, hey, we need you for 10, 15 minutes in the morning. That'd be cool. He's a great guy.
No, Noel's doing some great things. His podcast, the Doctors and Dentists Passive Income Investors Club. That is he's doing great things with that. He's actually started another podcast himself that is about dentistry. So he's doing some really cool things. And Noel's one of the first people I met at Sumrock.
Oh, is he?
Which is crazy because when you go to these events, all of a sudden you're talking to somebody and I'm standing in this group of guys and we're just talking and hey, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm a dentist. And they look at me and they go, really? I'm a dentist. I mean, in the circle of 6 people, there were 3 dentists. I'm like, that sucks.
Why are we all here?
I don't want to meet any dentists. I want to meet non-dentist people. No, I'm kidding.
I'm tired of talking to you dentists all the time.
I'm tired of geeking out on that. But so share I know we're going to go through the screen, but like, give them a quick example of something that you're looking at on that, Blaine.
Well, I mean, if you go here on the left side, it's got the price, it's got financed rehab here, or you can put unfinanced rehab. We talked a little bit about that too. Of course, we talked about a lot of things. Do you want it into the deal and have the bank have control of it? Maybe you do. Do you want it out of the deal or not? So you get all that stuff. Basically, the blue lines are stuff we can enter, that we enter in. The red or the pinkish is the program itself calculates it and puts that in there to you based on what you put in the blue. So, like I said, we're going to go through all these different lines in a couple of weeks and discuss kind of what they all mean and how we use this analyzer, because this thing's pretty intense. And I thought, maybe we can talk to somebody too. I thought they updated it. There was some sort of maybe Nick knows. I'm going to talk to one of our guys, Nick, next week. I can ask him because there's supposed to be an update to this where they added a few more things to, make it more efficient and more accurate.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I think like a year or two ago, here it says years interest only. They used to not have that. And so, obviously that's key as to, are you paying principal down on your loan or are you paying just interest? And that wasn't in there. And so they added that in so you can put interest only. And then it'll tell you, calculate it for you. But anyway, not going into too much of that today because we'll go into it later.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I mean, this is just, gives everybody a glimpse of what we're going to jump into. And yeah, it's not just all fluff and BS and joking and laughing and having fun, because it is. But
because that's what we do, though.
yeah, but if you're
We
not having
joke.
fun, then screw it. Why would you do it? So that's the most
Right.
important thing. So
And that's why we pretty much need an update on the cold plunge at this point. At this point, we need a cold plunge update.
So what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
I think we got a few questions to finish.
Yeah, we got
up
a
the
couple
night.
questions. What do you want to know about the cold plunge?
Okay, well, you said, hey, when I start the cold plunge, losing weight and inches and help me feel better and that kind of stuff. And
okay, so let me give you a stat. Okay.
So now we need to know. It's been how long? First of all.
First off, I started the plunge on June 19th.
June 19th.
June 19th.
So that was almost 2 months ago.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll share the numbers with you. I don't care, even though it's a little embarrassing, but
no, it's you, and we're real.
You're real.
We're real.
So I started June 19th. I was 300 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. I just saw your jaw hit the desk right there. 300 pounds. I took measurements around my chest and my stomach and my waist, and my stomach was 53.5 inches around. That's a lot.
53.5.
That's like a beer belly plus.
Yeah. And you know what's weird? You don't like drink a lot of beer.
No, I don't even like beer. Well, I like beer. I just don't drink.
I mean, you don't drink a ton of beer. I mean, I'm sure I drink more beer than you do. But
yeah, you do. And look how skinny you are.
I have a beer hat on too today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my chest was 52 inches. So my stomach was bigger than my chest, which is probably should never happen. And then my waist was 44.5 inches. So let's fast forward to the last. I haven't measured and I haven't weighed since August 7th.
Okay.
August 7th.
About a week ago.
August 7th, I was down 18 pounds, 282 pounds.
Wow.
And yeah. And my stomach is 48 inches from 53.5. So that's 5.5 inches off my stomach.
Wow.
My chest is 48.5 inches. So that's 3.5 inches smaller. And my waist is a full inch smaller. So, yeah. And cold plunge. Thank you.
And have you changed anything else?
I did. I changed a little bit of the diet. Obviously, I'm not eating any BS, but I'm not eating perfectly clean either. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not like I just stopped cold, but I've modified quite a bit.
You did stop cold.
I did stopped it cold. I have done
cold plunge.
I get it. We'll be here all night, folks. So
we're not going anywhere.
So tip your waitresses. And yeah, so I mean, modified that. I started I got back in the gym, had been lifting, but in the middle of all those, and since we started, I mean, Ann and I have been on several trips. Last week had something going on with my leg and my back, so I laid off lifting and kind of taking the day today, starting back Monday. So haven't been perfect, but those are the stats. So I certainly believe that the cold plunge is working. I don't know what people think about it, biohacking or whatnot, but the more and more I read about it, the more I pay attention to it, the more that it comes my way. And I don't know if this is proof, then proof it is. So
nice.
More to come.
Nice. Good to know. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, man. All right. Happy. Questions.
I got one. You want me to go?
Yeah, I got one too. You go ahead and do yours.
Somebody asked me, hey, if I invest in these multifamily real estate deals, when exactly do I get my money back? Can I get it out anytime I want? Or is it at the end or whatever? And it's a multi-answer. Typically, once you're invested, you cannot get your money out until the GP team does what they need to do. And so it's not very liquid. If you have an emergency, you're like, oh my gosh, I need that $50,000. Well, you really can't. And there's a lot of legal stuff that goes into that. It's not like they couldn't write you a check for 50 grand or transfer it back to you. It's the legal part and the ownership part and the percentage of ownership that has to be dealt with. So there's that. You do get some money back on whether they're monthly or quarterly dividends. I think we call them dividends. That's what you call them.
Dividends,
whatever, called other things too, but maybe monthly or quarterly. You might get some money
distribution.
back. Distribution, maybe a good word for that. That, and that's a certain percentage of what you put in, depending on how well the deal's cash flowing. There's also they could refinance it. If your deal's refinanced, you might get a larger portion back. Typically, that's not for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course at the end of the sale is when you should get paid out for everything that you put in, and hopefully a lot more, unless you're in Houston. With that guy.
With whoever that guy was.
That guy. I heard he bailed and went out of the country with a whole bunch of money. Yeah. But he bailed.
People, it takes all kinds. Again, let me go back to the thing that we talked about today, that we talk about every time.
Like trust.
Your GP team. You have to know people. Yes, I want everybody to get involved, and I want you to invest in this. Yes, you're excited to get involved and start doing some of this. But if you don't know who you're dealing with, then don't do it. Learn, grow, network, come to some of these events, meet some people.
Come to Dallas.
Seriously. Yeah, come to Dallas with us. If those of you out there listening, if you're coming to Dallas, let us know.
Hey, did you see I got an email that said that we can bring somebody with us and the tuition's free.
What? I didn't see that.
I did.
Really?
Although I think that deal, it's the 12th. I think that is good until like the 14th or 15th, so in a few days. So maybe maybe I'll throw that out there on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
Say, hey, yeah, no, I was like, what? And I'm like, you mean Matt could have brought me for free? I'm pretty sure that it doesn't include platinum ticket, but which of course we are, because we're big time. Because we're big time platinum.
Platinum.
But yeah, so maybe I'll verify that on my email, and then maybe I'll throw a post out on Facebook, and because I think we've had a couple people show interest, they may be interested in going.
Sweet.
But yeah, the tickets are free, so that's pretty cool.
Sweet. So I got a question as well this last week. It says happy trails, guys. I just added that because it sounds cool.
Yeah.
Really? They said, Matt, I have a question. But happy trails, guys. I have a question. I want to get involved in investing. I have a lot of friends and have heard a lot of people that are doing house flipping and what you call single family housing. Why would I get involved in multifamily versus flipping houses in single family? Good question. So I think this is, again, we talked about this in one of the previous episodes, the number one thing to do is get involved. I mean, first off, know some people, educate yourself, and then get involved. But the first thing is to get involved. So yes, in a single family situation, a house flipping, you've got to turn the house. You've got to invest money. You got to buy the property. You got to invest in the rehab of the facility, the house, upfitting, the value add, so to speak, that we do in multifamily. And then you've got to list the property and either rent it or sell it.
Yeah.
You got to do one of the two. So yes, that works. Yes, that brings return. The difference in single family and multifamily is the scalability. And that's really one of the biggest things. So imagine one rent for a single house versus 300 rents for 300 apartments. So that change in the rent is easily scaled in the multifamily realm versus the single family realm. That'd be one of the first benefits for sure that I would point out. Second would be, if you're involved in a single family investment by yourself, and let's just say the market doesn't do what it's supposed to do and it starts to turn south, what happens to your money? You're on the hook for it. You're paying it. Just like we talked about earlier. You're buying a house. You got it. So the money is now all of a sudden you're sweating it out. You're like, ooh, I got to pay that month. There's nobody that's buying this house. What's going on? Nobody's renting this house. What's happening? In multifamily, you have multiple investors, which is why it's called a syndication. You have a general partner group and you got passive investors. So you have multiple people that are investing. Along with that, and something that I was going to mention earlier is, along with that investing into a syndication, you've got reserves. So you could accept more people putting money into the reserves to help with the rehab And with the time frame of an apartment not doing what it's supposed to do, you've got months of reserve to cover your butt. You usually don't have any reserve other than your bank account for a single family situation. That said, if single family was my only avenue at this stage to get involved, would I get involved? Yeah, I think so. I think if it's showing return, I absolutely would. But I think what you're going to learn quickly is those that jump into that at first are quickly finding their way into multifamily because of the scalability. And that in itself is what
Economies
led
of scale.
us. Yeah, that's what led us down the road of, hey, yes, we can buy homes, but why wouldn't we get involved with multiple units and multiple dollars versus one single? So you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I do. And my buddy is doing single family flip or rent.
Yeah.
And he's got 8 of them. He'd be kind of fun to have him on here and talk about his deal. But so you talk about economies of scale. It's like, he's getting into 8, 9 houses right now. And he's got a couple more he's looking at buying. Him and his friend are looking at buying and flipping those. Okay, then there's 12, and in a couple of years they have 14 or 16. Well, there's maintenance to all these, right? And who's on the hook for that? Well, he is now, and that's what he does because he has the time at 6 to 8 houses. But when you get to 12, 14, 20, 25, well, if you're trying to buy rehab, are you going to have a lot of time to do that? Well, probably not, because your time's going to be more valuable in other areas. So who's going to fix these places? Well, you can find somebody to fix them. You find a handyman maybe, or a company. But what company wants to go, yeah, I'll do your 10 houses for, that I may have to do something on once a month. I mean, nobody wants to, a company, a rehab company or maintenance company is not going to want to do that. And so you get up to 100 units, and it's all in one apartment complex in one area. It's so much easier for them, more profitable for them, much easier for you hey, we got one full-time guy, got to take care of everything here.
Yeah.
And that's again, you talk about economies of scale. It's just not if you're one single family, if you have 10 homes and you have one guy leave, that's 10% of your income. It's a little different when you have 300 units. But there's also the managing companies and the maintenance and stuff too.
I just thought of something. We're going to start showing analyzer and things like that and on screen. Maybe we could do a side-by-side comparison of purchase of a single family versus getting involved in a multifamily. If you were a GP, what does that look like in comparison? So that'd be really cool to do.
That'd be good because like I said, to get into a syndication, you're looking at 50 to 100,000, right? To buy a single family home. Well, I mean, in Iowa, you can get them for 50 grand, but by the time, you rehab them stuff, you're about 100. So, I mean, the amount you put in is very similar. So we could, that would be actually interesting.
Would you say that in Iowa and Cedar Rapids, let's say, could you buy a home for 100,000? Yeah,
actually my buddy, Javi, and maybe he should be listening to this because I tell him to listen to it all the time. Pretty smart guy.
Listen.
He he found a house here in Cedar Rapids. I think they wanted 40 grand for it, and it was like a 2-story building, 1920 or something like that. So it's just an old place. Needed a lot of work. Yeah, they're looking at putting 40 grand into it, and he goes, I think I can get $1,200 a month of rent out of it, and it's near a small college or university.
Yeah.
Here in Cedar Rapids. So I'm like, the location actually is pretty good there.
Yeah.
Because you could get students renting this place out.
So that in that certain instance, that might make sense.
Yeah.
So you're investing. I mean, if you've got cash sitting around, so let's just say that your friend, what's his name?
Javi.
Oh, I met Javi.
You know Javi.
Yeah.
He's shorter than you.
So Javi, so let's say Javi invests 80 grand into this house, and he's got 80 grand sitting around. Let's say he's got 100 grand sitting around. So, and he's cool with that. So how long is it going to take him to recoup that in rent? That 100 grand investment that he's going to put in there, how long is it going to take to roll over? And then what's the tax ramification for the rent as it comes in? You know what I'm saying? as opposed to the syndication. So I think you got to look at the tax exchange on that. And I think if we were to sit down, I think Javi might be like, I think maybe I need to look at some multifamily stuff. Javi, if you're listening, listen.
He could do both because I mean that's what he loves doing that stuff, and he sends us videos and stuff of him freaking tearing stuff down.
Oh, that he loves
things,
it,
and it's really cool to see the transformation of the places that he's doing. But still, you could do a little both, right? That could be your JOB because that's what you like to do.
Yeah,
and then on the side you do a little multifamily syndication, a little passive income to help build your wealth. So
hey, I'm never against the side hustle. So rock on with that. I love it.
All right.
I love it. Cool, man. Hey, great job today.
Right on.
Great seeing you.
Oh, always good to see me too.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to see me.
I'm glad you got to hang out with me today, Matt.
Hey, everybody. That's all for today. Happy trails to you.
Happy trails, and share with your friends. Like us, get us out there. We want to share this with everybody. We want to teach everybody about this and help people out. So,
looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye. Peace.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song.